We talk a lot about the patriarchy. We live in a patriarchy, but it hasn't always been that way. Before patriarchy, women survived and thrived together in villages surrounded by sisters, mothers, aunts. Today, most women raise children in silence, behind closed doors, isolated from the community that once had their back. How did we get here, and who benefits from our loneliness? I was tagged in this post from Spiritual Matriarchy, and it's an amazing thread that I want to share. She says, before patriarchy, women often lived, worked, and raised children within extended kinship networks or matrilineal communities. Labor, childcare, and survival were collective. Under the nuclear family, women are isolated in small, privatized households. She becomes the sole provider of emotional labor, domestic labor, and child care, unpaid and unrecognized, often invisible. This separation weakens women's bonds with each other and makes them dependent on men. Let's explore how this model harms women. Sexual and reproductive control. The model assumes a woman's primary role is wife and mother, with her reproductive capacity serving the family line, usually through the man's last name. This reduces women's sexuality to reproduction and domestic duty rather than autonomy or pleasure. Psychological and emotional burden. The wife mother role is cast as her highest duty, creating guilt if she desires independence, career, or sisterhood. Emotional labor becomes invisible. Women are expected to, this part, manage men's feelings, children's well being, and community standing, often at the cost of her own health. Isn't that right? Economic dependence. The nuclear family ties women's survival to a husband's income. Even today, wage gaps, discrimination, and motherhood penalties keep women earning less. This dependency makes it harder for women to leave abusive or unfulfilling marriages. The very structure is designed to limit women's choices and keep them stuck. Who truly benefits? Men. They gain free domestic labor, sexual access framed as marital duty, heirs carrying their name, and a social status boost for being the head of household. The state/capitalism. Nuclear families produce controlled units of labor and consumption. By privatizing care onto women, the system saves billions. Why don't women benefit? Women carry more labor with less recognition. They face greater vulnerability if the marriage fails. They lose the communal safety nets that matrilineal or collective structures once provided. Their identities get narrowed to roles of service like wife, mother, caretaker, rather than full human beings with autonomy. And that is the end of her post, but I do want to go back and talk about some of the points that she made. Right now, we have a situation that's push and pull. We have men that are trying to strip women of rights, and we have women still trying to assert that we do want to be able to have choice in how we live. And so that's the reason why reproductive choice is, subject to terms of the state that you're living in. And that's another reason why they are trying to return women to the office, because they know that that's going to make women fall out of the workforce. And this is the reason why they're always talking about wife and mother as like it's the pinnacle of where women need to be. And so they do this. They use the church. They use social shaming. They use tradition as a way to make sure that women know and understand that this is your only duty that you're supposed to have. This part right here, emotional labor becomes invisible. It's always been invisible. That's the reason why we've been talking a lot these days about the mental load. The mental load, it seems like an explosive conversation because men want to act like they're not lumping that on the shoulders of women. But women multitask. We do all of the things. We do have to manage men's feelings despite feelings being in the realm of the woman. And that's the reason why I do think that gets put on our shoulders as well. And we do have to manage our community reputation, because if something were to go wrong, it is, and we know this, blame the mother. This part right here is so clutch, the economic dependence. This is one of the reasons why people cannot stand women like me. When I talk about do not give your 20s to a man, make sure you go get your education, make sure that you get your career foundation in order before you, if you do plan on getting married and having children, get all of that out of the way so that you're not solely dependent. I do know and understand that women will fall out of the workforce if they do decide to have children, but by going to school, by getting some career experience under your belt, you do have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P, all of the plans, just in case something goes wrong. Because if you are solely dependent, yes, you can get away. And yes, there are sometimes organizations that will help you get away, but it is a lot harder. So you need to make sure that you have the capacity to make your own money. And that's the reason why people like me, I get so much, I get insulted. They really want to villainize people like me because they want to keep women economically dependent. If if women do not have bodily autonomy and financial independence, it's a lot easier to control women. And so that is what the feminist movement was really about, making sure that women owned our own bodies instead of some man, either our daddies or our husbands owning us, which is what? Slavery. Make sure we own our own bodies and have the financial independence to be able to work and keep our income, keep our wages versus us making money and that money going to him. Woo, right here. Who truly benefits? Men gain free domestic labor, sexual access framed as marital duty, heirs carrying their name and social status. So, what do I always say? Wife appliance, who is there to cook and clean. Bang maid, someone that after you cook and clean, put the kids to bed, you're going to bust it wide open, drop it down low, and pick it up slow, or maybe pick it up kind of medium if you're in your 40s and 50s. Like, yeah, we're not picking it up that quickly. And then obviously be an incubator. All of the things that we do get basically dehumanized into the functions of this. We are not, well, they really don't like it when we have an identity outside of motherhood. All of that too becomes one, really means that she gets melded into him and she's not allowed to keep her own identity. And that harms so many people because if the marriage dissolves, once the children go away, then she is left trying to figure out what her role in life is. And this is one of the reasons why I continue to talk about keeping an identity outside of just being a wife and mother. Ooh, and the state and capitalism definitely benefit because if you have a family from the time that you are pregnant to the time that those children leave the nest to be able to do it, repeat that cycle, what are you doing? You're buying maternity clothes, you're going to the hospital, you're buying diapers, you're buying formula, or you're buying enough food so you can breastfeed. You need a house that can fit your family. So what does a house mean? Dishwasher, washing machine, clothes, food, all of that. So all of this just keeps you in a cycle of spending money, getting rid of things. People talk about all of the things that women buy, but women are typically the caretakers. So women are the ones that are spending out the money to keep the household, buying the body wash, the toothbrushes, the toilet paper, all of the things that make a household run on a day to day. And then by the seasons, you got to get your summer clothes, you got to get some shoes that fit, you got to do the back to school. And then holidays, you got to have the Christmas gifts. There are so many things that run on the nuclear family. So this is another reason why, child-free women get shamed and insulted and everything because they are not participating how they should be, because by opting out and by not giving kids to the system, they are taking away that money that would be fueling capitalism. If we did have communal living again, we would be sharing some of the resources versus everybody having to buy their own thing. We would be sharing childcare duties. We would be sharing some of the household duties because we could come together and do all of that. But since we're isolated in these, the houses that just repeat all of us are isolated so much, and we are losing that community, or some of us have never had that community and that support. And that is why women were continually using the drugs and alcohol to numb that isolation and that sadness. All right, y'all, let me know what you think about all of this, and go ahead and share.